in China, the seashells didn't really have any value because you didn't need to have a unit that was portable, durable, divisible, and fungible, so it didn't have value. But when it was money, it became very valuable. And afterwards, when it was replaced, again, it didn't have value. Then 700 BC in Lydia, which is today's modern Western Turkey, gold coins was introduced by the king. So for almost 3,000 years, gold has been the sound money of the world. And the reason why gold still has value today is because there's a lot of people that do realize that owning fiat currency is not a way to store your wealth. You can store your wealth or store your value in gold. It may not give you a return on investment, but at least you can kind of store your value. And then we had Bitcoin introduced in January 2009, which is, in my opinion, an exceptional evolution, and is really it has become possible because of the internet. I mean, before Bitcoin, you can send an email to China instantly, but it takes you 2 days to send money to China. I mean, that's a joke. How come that can be, and why should we accept that? Bitcoin solves that problem.
And the big issue, one thing that we'll get into also, like we brought in the beginning, which is like, right now it can't scale on-chain. So
right.
I'm curious to see what our conversation will lead into.
Absolutely.
How do you actually scale off-chain and allow for it to be usable outside?
Exactly, and that's the thing. I mean, for Bitcoin to be money of the world, on-chain scaling is absolutely, technically impossible. It needs to go off-chain, and that's where Brett, who's technical, unlike me, will be able to explain the solution to that. Let's take the next slide. Right. So what has history taught us about money? Whatever has the best properties gets to be the chosen money of a region or the entire world. So back in China, that was rare seashells that was best on being portable, durable, divisible, fungible. So it was money. Then gold came along and replaced rare seashells because it was simply better on those 4 properties. Whatever is better gets to be the chosen money. Then we have something called Gresham's Law. He was a financier living in UK several centuries ago, and he said that if there's several competing money, this is also something we have seen, if there's competing money, always you will spend your weakest money first. So the strongest money will always survive. We'll always go towards having only one money, and that is the money that is going to have all of the value. By saying that also, I say that I definitely don't believe in altcoin money. We right now have different other tokens that are, sorry?
Controversial.
Slightly controversial maybe, but I think it's a valid point that if you say you have Monero that has value because it has privacy, well, within 2 to 3 years we'll have 100% privacy within Bitcoin. So what is the justification for Monero going to be?
And keep in mind, so this panel is building on-chain, but it's also, evangelizing a lot of Bitcoin as well. So as a store of value, because out of a lot of the currencies or the altcoins that exist, there hasn't been one that hasn't presented itself to be a good store of value yet. So we can
of the other ones you say, or
yeah.
But anyways, I mean, to do on scale, or some of the projects that you guys might be working on, if you want to do it on chain or off chain, I mean, at the end of the day, you still need a blockchain, right?
Exactly.
So, and I'm sure learnings from Bitcoin can.
Absolutely. Well, the same developers that are developing Plasma, which allows for scaling on Ethereum, develop Lightning for Bitcoin. So Joseph Kuhn and team. So it's. I think that's what's really interesting is the learnings happen with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the original, massively successful blockchain technology, but outside of pure technology, it also deployed value for the original holders of Bitcoin and purchasers and transactions that are occurring in Bitcoin. But it's, again, hard to transact with Bitcoin because you can only do 7 transactions per second. So the goal is eventually to go from that to something that actually
several million per second. That's the goal.
Yeah, we need to get there.
Yeah, but we'll get there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
Because then the value will be there.
Well, that leads to Bitcoin as an underrated currency as a development platform.
Yeah.
So what has happened is the things that the Bitcoin protocol cannot do, it was never meant to do. It was always meant to be the stable underlying protocol. I think of it as TCP/IP for the Internet of Money. And TCP/IP has been here with us for 30, 40 years now. In the mid-90s, when the internet started booming, people started questioning it. Will it scale? Oh, we need to add this. We need to add all these technologies on top of TCP/IP or to TCP/IP. It never happened. The base protocol was fine the way it was, and it still is today. And it did end up scaling through layer 2, layer 3 solutions on top of that. With Bitcoin, the criticism to it over the last few years is it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. I'm going to create a new coin. I'm going to create a new programmable blockchain. I'm going to create, some sort of new token. The thing is, Bitcoin as a protocol is the most durable protocol, and the main reason there is because it's decentralized. And that means there's no central authority, there's no company, there's no CEO, there's no person or
There's no one point of failure.
group of people that can revert any decision. It is a consensus.
It's like basically been there forever.
I like to think of it as underrated.
Yeah.
And
Well, it should be, because then it could go, up in value, hopefully, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. And
yeah.
let's let Andrew finish his
Yeah,
slides, and then
I'm halfway through.
we'll get the big thing to talk about though is the Lightning Network, and I'll say a few things about that after.
Yeah. Probably the most interesting development of programming, in my opinion, in the world right now, Lightning Network. So we'll get to that. But the last thing I just want to say before we move on to the next slide is that the one thing that is most overlooked when it comes to money is that money gets its value from the fact that it gets to be money, because it is the chosen money, because it's the thing that you need to obtain to buy goods and services in the region that you are. It doesn't have its value from anything else. Gold doesn't have value because we wear it as jewelry. Jewelry is expensive because it is part of gold, which was before the best money around. So yeah, that's okay. So yeah, when it goes to Mac, it a little bit changes how the things look. Those are two white arrows pointing up. So if you look at the four important properties of money, the portability, durability, divisibility, fungibility, the first three, there's nothing that is better than Bitcoin as money. The fourth one, fungibility, is not solved yet on Bitcoin. It will highly likely be 100% solved within 2 to 3 years. But not right now, it's not a private currency or money or store of value. But those things will all be in place. The first three already 100% in place. Nothing better in the world. However, on top of that, because Bitcoin is non-physical and decentralized, Bitcoin has introduced two brand new features to money that we've never seen before. First of all, it is impossible to confiscate. So the government cannot take it from you. If you're married and you're divorced, your spouse cannot take it from you. I'm not recommending anything. I'm just saying, as a money, it cannot be confiscated.
Unless it's stored on an exchange.
Yes.
Yeah. Good, very, very good point.
Yeah.
You need to have your private keys yourself, not leave it on an exchange. If you leave it on Coinbase, it can very easily be confiscated by authorities, for instance. Another thing that is extremely important as a feature, a superior feature that we've never seen before, is the fact that you can do censorship-resistant value transfers. First time ever we had that with money. And the best way was shown that was in 2011, 2010, where the most powerful government in the world wanted to cut off WikiLeaks from funding. That was, of course, the United States government. SWIFT was closed down, credit cards was closed down, they couldn't receive funds in any way whatsoever, but then they started accepting Bitcoin. So all of a sudden you have for the first time ever, it becomes non-confiscatable money that you can choose to spend to whom you want. Never seen before, those two things combined. And in my opinion, when you have something that is better, sure, it doesn't have the value that of gold has today in market cap, it doesn't have the value of the total global money supply, M3, but when you have something that has better properties, fighting that taking over is like fighting the gravity of a black hole. You need a lot of good luck. All right, let's do the next slide. I don't want to go through all of this. I just want to say, because of those things, unique traits of Bitcoin, it really introduces those killer applications. Bitcoin really, as a store of value, is better on so many levels, but especially the fact that it can't be confiscated, and also it has unique mobility. You can have in your pocket $100 million US and walk through the customs, which is great if you live in an oppressive regime and you need to get out with your money. Usually, traditionally, people have used gold for that, but that's just difficult today with metal detectors. So that's great. Even if they find your hardware wallet and take it from you, you can have a seat somewhere else and you can just restore it. Okay, so it's nothing that's been as mobile as that. At the same time, you can also pay your vendor in China instantly once we have Lightning Network installed. So that's another kind of mobility. And then when it comes at, money really is two things. It's store of value and it's medium of exchange. The killer app here also is, again, the censorship resistance and the fact that it can't be confiscated. But still, on so many levels, it's just a better medium of exchange, and it's just about to get even better. I mean, so much development, as Brett said, is totally undervalued what's going on of development on Bitcoin, and Lightning Network is the most exciting, and that's what Brett will be talking about.
We'd like the speed to China.
Yeah, speed to China.
Yeah, speed to China.
Yeah, exactly. So Bitcoin is money. It's the best store of value ever. And once we get privacy, it's the best medium of exchange ever. So technically, it's essentially the best. And we can jump to the next slide. So some people call Bitcoin a speculative bubble. Other people consider it just an S-curve adoption of a new technology. I would say it's an S-curve adoption of a new store of value and money. And with those words, we'll take 2 click on the next slides. It's time for Plan B and Mr. Brett.
Has anyone here heard of the Lightning Network? Okay. A couple years ago, 2 pretty bright mathematicians wrote a white paper.
Well, first we get into that.
Yeah.
So obviously we've identified the issue. So Bitcoin's amazing from this aspect of that it's the future of store of value from the perspective of, looking at the comparisons with past examples of money. But the biggest problem with Bitcoin that we're coming to is the fact that you can't do fast transactions. 7 transactions per second right now. So it's literally 7 of us in here can actually stop,
Store of value, I think, because Bitcoin's 9-year history now, it has proven to be a very acceptable and meaningful store of value. People do call that a replacement for gold, and I think that's a viable comparison in that way, where it's scarce and it is it's more easily tradable than gold.
But let's get back to this idea of building.
Well, there's medium of exchange.
Right, so medium of exchange, and then let's say Lightning comes into play. So Lightning allows for you to go from 7 transactions per second to hopefully eventually millions of transactions per second. Similar to like the Visa or the credit card networks or a centralized server per se, right? So if you can build on chain, let's say put it out 5 years from now, what type of applications will be built on chain? And for students in the class here, what would be good for the code languages to learn, to partner up with somebody? I think that's like something that'd be really fascinating to hear from your perspective being a technologist. And then whoever's got the best question, Brett actually brought.
I brought a Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Whoever asked the best question.
He was just in Morocco. He drove actually 10 hours from the mountains to Marrakesh to fly to New York. He missed that flight. He got on the first flight this morning. So he actually made it here from across the world. So it's really exciting to be here. So have some good questions, please.
Thank you. So thank you for describing that. Yeah, the problem of scalability is a real one. We definitely saw that at the end of last year when the Bitcoin to US dollar exchange rate was super high. It peaked at around 19,000 per Bitcoin. And there was so much interest in it and so much volume that the transaction fees for Bitcoin went up pretty high. $30, $40, $50. That's unacceptable. That's way too high. So the solution is some people believe the solution is to have bigger blocks and just keep doubling the block size. And Bitcoin Cash was kind of launched out of that kind of hostile disagreement with the best way to scale the blockchain. The biggest fundamental problem with that solution to scalability is that it will eventually, even the bigger blocks will be full, and then again too full, and then you'll eventually have this blockchain that is growing at a rate of gigabytes per minute, and it will just not
reduces
scale.
security. That's the problem. It really reduces security.
Right, because the only people that will be able to run a full node are the people that can afford to run a full node. Even with storage costs going down and bandwidth costs going down, they do still cost something. Today's blockchain with Bitcoin, I think today it's about 130 gigabytes over 9 years. So the rate it's growing, it's and the block sizes are actually shrinking now that we've activated SegWit. So the better solution,
SegWit, which is a new scale.
it was an enhancement to the protocol.
Yeah, enhancing protocol, which every few months enhancements happen.
Well,
years. Actually, it was
yeah.
SegWit 2. Remember that?
SegWit 2X was a combination of SegWit and block sizing,
Which they pulled.
they pulled because they knew it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So the best solution to scale Bitcoin is layer 2 solution on top of it. And the one that is getting the most attention and development resources is called the Lightning Protocol. And there's a company called Lightning Labs that is funded through traditional means. They were investments, VC-backed. Jack Dorsey recently invested in them. They're a small company. They're building LND, the Lightning Network Daemon. And that's just one implementation. So they're basically implementing the Lightning white paper. And they've got a lot of traction lately. And they have said publicly, we actually like when the price is low or stable because it takes away attention from Bitcoin and allows us to do our job without distraction.
Which is building.
And that's what developers want to do. So they're building. So to answer your question earlier about what do I see applications?
Yeah.
Well, a few years ago, I was running around town, LA, San Francisco, New York, wherever I could, who takes Bitcoin? I have my phone, I want to pay for this coffee in Bitcoin. And I was able to do it in a few places, and it was exciting, and I was super jazzed about it.
Pay and those organizations that were set out to do that.
Right, to facilitate merchants
Yeah.
who can either keep the transaction as Bitcoin or convert it to dollars immediately. That's kind of not worked out, unfortunately. And there's less merchant adoption over the last maybe 18 months than we would have liked. It's kind of flatlined and maybe dipped a bit. And the reason for that is the high transaction fees scared some merchants away.
Yeah.
And companies like, I think, Newegg turned it off.
Overstock turned it off, I think.
No,
They're still doing it.
Well, now that
Patrick T0, but
the fees are low again,
Right.
but they won't stay that way
No.
when mass adoption
Steam
happens.
turned it off.
Steam was the big
going
one.
for a while.
Right.
So
So that was disappointing, and the reason they turned it off is for the high fees. If
Well,
the
it's
fees
expensive.
weren't high, they would have left it on. So the solution is, okay, if it gets mass adoption, fees are going to get high. We saw that happen last year.
Yeah.
So the only solution is
Lightning.
off-chain Lightning. And Lightning is infinitely scalable, just like the internet is infinitely scalable.
Right.
You have some bottlenecks as far as ISPs, government, you have limits of bandwidth with fiber and the speed of light. But the internet inherently, but the internet inherently is infinitely scalable. You just add compute power to it.
Yeah.
So Lightning Network is that. Because each Lightning node, it's all peer-to-peer. These Lightning transactions will happen off-chain, and then the settlement happens on-chain. So imagine, I think a good example is if you were to go to Starbucks and make a bank deposit, every Starbucks were to make a bank deposit for every single customer in line buying coffee. That wouldn't scale well. Their bank statements would be, tens of thousands per month or hundreds of thousands per month. It wouldn't scale. The better solution would be to collect the money as a merchant, and then at the end of the day when you close, or if you're 24 hours, you just take a time, batch it out. That's what it is. So the Lightning Network is those microtransactions at extremely low fees, so fractions of a penny, and they will stay that way forever. It's not there's not the fee structure of Lightning Network is not one that will increase from usage. It will just be the cost of sending network packets.
Brett, so would you say developers will be leveraging like APIs from the Lightning Network to build into their own blockchain applications?
Yes, they will build apps that are running Lightning Network inside them, and you don't even know it. That's the idea.
That's the beauty.
That's the beauty. So you walk into a Starbucks, you pay with it. You don't care. You just know that you allocated some Bitcoin to Starbucks, just like you would buy a Starbucks card. You buy it with Bitcoin, and then it would be Lightning underneath, zero fees.
Apart from that, Lightning Network is only one of the second-layer solutions on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's going to be other second-layer solutions as well, and also there's talk of third-layer solutions on top of Lightning Network. So if I was a programmer or an entrepreneur, I would definitely look into not just on-chain, but second layer and third layer.
Yeah, I think what we should do is open up to a few questions as well.
We have about 9 minutes left.
Yeah, so we can do a bunch of questions, and then we can wrap up on a few suggestions on people to work with, or which languages are best to code in on chain.